I would like to share my remarks as president of the Inter-American Press Association. And first of all, nice to meet you, Mr. Secretary Albert Ramden. Thank you so much for receiving us this morning. Also esteemed OAS delegation and members of the IAPA Press Association. It is for us and for myself an immense honor to be here today for the first signing of this cooperation agreement. This document is not just a formality. It is an extraordinary milestone that marks a tangible commitment to advancing a cause that we at the IAPA consider fundamental. From the International Press Association, we have followed with deep concern the regression facing women's rights in the region. As we mentioned on this year's International Women's Day, the progress achieved by the Beijing conference is under threat. This is why journalism must act, not just as a witness, but as an agent of change. We need to move from insistence to action, and this agreement is exactly that step. Today, together, through the OAS Inter-American Commission of Women and the IAPA's Commission on Gender, Equity, and Diversity, we are establishing a framework for cooperation that will allow us to work concrete initiatives. We will not stop at diagnosis. Instead, we will act to build solutions. We are excited about the future and the steps we will take together. We envision a series of immediate and medium-term actions among which we can highlight. Launching public campaigns to raise awareness about the importance of having more inclusive and equitable newsrooms where women play a leading role. Fostering the participation of more women in leadership positions within media outlets, ensuring that their talent is not wasted and that their leadership contributes to a more prosperous and more inclusive agenda. Promoting and training journalists in writing articles with a gender perspective, which offer a more plural and complete view of reality, reflecting the experiences and voices of women and other diversities. Creating an exclusive award for journalistic excellence for women, an initiative that will honor the brave and committed work of women journalists in the Americas and serve as inspiration for future generations. This agreement is proof of that. Even in the most complex scenarios, cooperation and dialogue can pave the way to a more just future. We are ready to start working. Thank you so much.
Good morning again, and good morning, Mr. Dutris, and as President of IAPA and your delegation. Thank you very much for being here in the House of the Americas. And this room has a specific meaning to anything that has to do with journalism, because if this wall could talk, you would get a lot of very much unique information. Let me keep it neutral. Unique information about the OAS, but also about the discussions that took place here many, many decades long. Of course, the chairman of the Permanent Council, Ambassador Savage, and Assistant Secretary General Laura Hill, as well as the Executive Secretary of CIM, Alejandra Mora Mora. We have our first Secretary General elected a couple of months ago, and the first female Assistant Secretary General. So in many ways today, as I said before, this is almost like CIM Day, because we celebrate so many events. International Women's Day, Assistant Secretary General, the activities of the Inter-American Commission on Women, and the two agreements which CIM is signing today. One we did already with American University, and in fact I could repeat the same statement I made before. when we signed the agreement with American University, because it aligns fully with what you said about this should not be something just in words and on paper, but action-oriented. So I'm not going to repeat the speech, but I want to add a couple of things. First of all, to thank IAPA for your commitment to freedom of press and basic human rights, as well as to strengthening democracy through your work in every single society within the Western Hemisphere. It's courageous, it's not easy always. We live in very interesting times where it becomes even more difficult. So we stand with you in that regard in terms of protection, defense of freedom of expression. And then the continued marginalization of certain groups in our societies, in this case, women, is something which also needs to be addressed. So I'm very pleased to see that through this agreement, you will be able to draw attention to that aspect. The annual award is one, and you can count on the full support of the OAS. But I want to say also that if there is any time in our recent history in the Americas, I'm not speaking about what is happening at the international level, that's disturbing and concerning, but in our own hemisphere, I think the media, journalists can play a critical role in doing three things. One is to make it clear that we need to work together, all of us, within societies, a whole of society approach. But we need to work together also in the hemisphere. Multilateralism is possibly the only vehicle through which we can solve many of the challenges which we face in our hemisphere. And of course, journalists and organizations as yours have a responsibility to do that in the right way, with the right balance. But I think it's something which is going to be critically important in going forward. In that context, one of our objectives is to showcase what the OAS is doing. This is one example, showcasing the OAS and through the media, because if you would not cooperate with us, we will not be able to use that channel. And we will certainly reach out to you in the broader picture of what the OAS is doing to demonstrate the value, the usefulness of the OAS for the hemisphere. If the OAS did not exist, somebody said a long time ago, then we would have to invent it in today's world. And that is not changed. That has not changed. The need for a multilateral body, which is now almost 8 decades old, or young, if you wish, is a necessary multilateral tool. That's the first message I would like you to take back, not only in terms of CIM and female, but in the broader picture. Because advocating cooperation in today's world will help in other areas like migration, like extradition, like development issues, and so on. The second one is about highlighting the position of marginalized groups in our societies. And regretfully, it's increasing. It's not only women, it's young people, youth. There are many of our young people who live on the streets in every single country. And they have no idea how they will survive from today to tomorrow. They live in very insecure situations. They don't know if they will eat the next day. They don't have a roof above. Basic fundamental human rights are not adhered to for them. In other countries, it happens in every single country. In some countries more than in others, but it's something we need to address, young people. And then we have what we call the Afrodescendientes, we have the indigenous groups, are all marginalized groups. And I think we can focus on the larger problems of democracy and governments who do not act democratically, although elected democratically. But we should not forget the real problems in societies, those which have an impact individually. So we have to be really pragmatic in that sense. And the last one is your responsibility to be, I don't want to say a watchdog, but at least the conscience of our societies, and to raise that voice whenever necessary. We will have something like 20 elections over the coming 18 months until end of 26. That is 2/3 of the OAS membership. We may see a political landscape that looks different from today, and we have to be prepared for that. So we have a lot of issues on our hand, but with an optimistic view, we can identify those issues and try to find solutions. So I hope that we can work together on the broader picture as well of how do we make this hemisphere one of more peace and more of prosperity for everybody. Thank you very much for the commitment, and thank you very much for traveling to Washington, D.C. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.